The story begins in 1720, when a huge ship is shown floating in the middle of the sea. On that ship stands a girl named Elizabeth, who is innocently singing a pirate song. Then a man comes there and quickly says, "Don't sing that. This is pirate territory. It's not good to sing their ominous songs." Just moments after saying this, Lieutenant James arrives, who has intense hatred for pirates. He stares at Elizabeth and says, "Every pirate has only one punishment, death." In James' eyes, pirates aren't human beings but monsters. At that moment, Elizabeth's father arrives, who is the governor of the ship. He says angrily, "Don't talk to my daughter like that. I don't want any kind of fear to settle in her heart." The governor and James leave, and Elizabeth looks towards the sea again. But then her eyes fall on something. She screams in fear. There's someone there. Someone has fallen into the sea. Everyone runs and looks in that direction. An unconscious boy is floating on the water. People quickly pull him onto the ship, and from here begins a story filled with ocean mysteries and dangers, where every wave hides a secret within itself. At that moment, everyone is shocked. In front of them, a huge ship is burning in the fire. Everyone's attention turns towards it. In this chaos, Elizabeth goes to the unconscious boy lying there. The boy slowly regains consciousness, and Elizabeth smiles and says, "My name is Elizabeth." The boy answers in a weak voice, "My name is Will Turner." Saying this, he loses consciousness again. When Elizabeth bends down near him, she notices a golden locket around his neck with a pirate mark on it. She quickly understands. This boy is also one of those pirates, but Elizabeth gets scared. She knows that if James finds out, he won't let Will live. That's why she quietly keeps the locket with her and doesn't tell anyone. Time passes, many years go by. Now Elizabeth has grown up, but she still has that locket that she got from Will Turner's neck in childhood. She has never shared this secret with anyone. One day, her father, the governor, gives her a beautiful dress and says, "Tonight there's a celebration for Lieutenant James' promotion. You also need to get ready and meet him." Actually, the governor wants Elizabeth to marry James. On the other hand, we see Will Turner, who has now become a blacksmith. He comes to the governor's house with a sword he's made. There, he meets Elizabeth. After years of separation, both are extremely happy. But Elizabeth's father doesn't like this friendship. He takes her away from there and includes her in the celebration. Meanwhile, a mysterious character enters from across the sea, a clever traveler wearing a hat, arriving at Port Royal with his small boat. He is none other than Jack Sparrow, the name the world calls the most dangerous pirate of the sea. At that moment, a man comes to Jack Sparrow and says, "To dock your boat here in Port Royal, you need to give a silver coin." Jack smiles. He pulls out 3 silver coins from his pocket and says in a joking manner, "Here, take 3 and forget my name." Saying this, he moves forward and heads towards the ship. Soon, 2 guards arrive there. One of them asks Jack, "What are you doing here?" Jack answers with complete innocence, "Just was about to steal." The guards look at each other and laugh. They can't believe someone would say something like that so easily. Now the camera goes up on the fort, where Elizabeth and Lieutenant James stand together. James is expressing his love for Elizabeth, but Elizabeth's dress is so tight that she has difficulty breathing. She suddenly gets dizzy and falls, and tumbles down the high wall of the fort into the sea. As she falls, the golden locket hanging around her neck, which bore the pirate mark, sinks into the water. As soon as that locket goes to the depths of the sea, a strange vibration and sound emanates from within the water, as if an ancient power has been awakened from its sleep. A sharp wave rises in the sea, and its echo spreads all around. At that moment, Jack Sparrow sees from above that Elizabeth has fallen into the water. Without wasting a moment, he jumps into the sea. He swiftly swims to Elizabeth, picks her up on his shoulder, and brings her to shore. She barely regains consciousness. Then Jack's eyes fall on her neck. There is that golden locket with the pirate mark. Jack asks in surprise, "How did you get this locket?" But before Elizabeth can answer anything, James' soldiers and Elizabeth's father arrive. They surround Jack Sparrow with guns. Elizabeth quickly says, "Wait, he saved my life. Let him go." But James' eyes fall on Jack's hand. There is the pirate mark. He says angrily, "You are a pirate, and the only punishment for that is death." Jack smiles and suddenly cleverly grabs Elizabeth and puts a gun to her neck. "Now step back, or I don't know what will happen to your precious lady." Everyone steps back, and Jack takes advantage of the moment to quickly escape. Soldiers chase him, but Jack tricks everyone with his cleverness and courage and gets away. He reaches a blacksmith shop where he tries to cut his shackles. This shop belongs to none other than Will Turner. After a while, Will comes in, and as soon as he sees Jack, a fierce swordplay begins between them. Swords clash, sparks fly. Both turn out to be extremely skilled swordsmen, but then soldiers arrive. They catch Jack, and finally Jack Sparrow is thrown thrown in jail. That night, dark shadows rise from the ocean depths, now heading towards Port Royal. Far on the horizon appears a fearful ship named the Black Pearl. Actually, when Elizabeth fell into the sea, the vibration from her locket, the gold coins of the pirates, created strange waves throughout the entire sea. Those very waves signaled to the Black Pearl's pirates that their lost treasure is here in Port Royal. And then the Black Pearl's pirates attack at midnight. The sound of cannons echoes. People scream and run. The entire harbor transforms into fire and destruction. During this, some pirates reach the room where Elizabeth is hiding. They break down the door and burst in, shouting, "Give us back what's ours. Where is our gold coin?" Elizabeth gets scared but shows courage and says, "I want to talk to your leader." The pirates stop because according to their rules, if someone demands to meet their captain, they must be given a chance. So they capture Elizabeth and take her to their ship, the Black Pearl. The next morning, when Will Turner learns that pirates have abducted Elizabeth, he rushes to the governor and James. He says, "We have to do something. Elizabeth is in danger." But no one listens to him because everyone sees him as just a blacksmith. At that moment, a soldier mentions, "The Jack Sparrow locked in jail yesterday was talking about a ship called the Black Pearl." Hearing this, Will immediately goes to Jack in the jail. He says, "We have to save Elizabeth. If you help me, I'll free you from here and take you to a safe place." Jack smiles, but as soon as he learns that Will's full name is Will Turner, he is shocked. Turner, meaning your bootstrap Turner's son? He realizes that this is blood that once was part of the pirate crew. Will frees Jack from jail, and both reach a huge ship called the Dauntless. They plan to steal it, but then James finds out that Jack and Will are going to steal the ship. He orders all his soldiers go immediately to the Dauntless. But James doesn't know that this is another one of Jack Sparrow's clever tricks. Now the story takes an even more thrilling turn. When James sends all his soldiers to the Dauntless, Jack Sparrow and Will Turner secretly board another ship, the Interceptor. Before everyone's eyes, without fear, they both steal the ship and sail into the ocean waves. On the way, Will asks in surprise, "When you learned my name, why did you decide to help me?" Jack smiles and answers, "Because you're not a blacksmith's son. You're a pirate's son. Your father's name was Bootstrap Turner, who was once part of the Black Pearl crew." Hearing this, Will is shocked. The father he always thought was an ordinary man turns out to be a terrifying pirate. A little later, both reach an island where Jack meets his old companions. He says, "We have to reach the Black Pearl. We'll make a deal with its captain, Hector Barbassa, and seize his ship at the right moment." Will says nervously, "Barbassa will never give us the Black Pearl." Jack says with a cunning glint in his eyes, "He will because he wants Bootstrap Turner's son, Will Turner. We'll give you to him, and in return, we'll take the Black Pearl." Meanwhile, on the Black Pearl, Elizabeth is brought before Captain Barbassa. She says angrily, "I've returned your gold coin to you. Now let me go." Barbassa looks at Elizabeth with a cold smile and says, "This is no ordinary gold coin. This coin is part of the cursed treasure of the Aztecs." He slowly comes forward and begins to explain. Once upon a time, 822 gold coins were given to Cortez by Aztec gods, so he would stop the massacre of the Aztec people. But he took the coins but didn't stop the bloodshed. Because of his greed and betrayal, the gods placed a terrible curse on those coins. If any human steals even one of those coins, they will be punished forever until the end of the world. Barbassa continues, "We also knew about that treasure. We looted the chest with 822 coins and took all the gold with it. We spent that wealth on alcohol, women, and luxuries. But still, our hunger never ended." His voice becomes heavy. "Because we are cursed. We can't die, eat, or feel. Our souls are bound to this gold." Then, looking into Elizabeth's eyes, he says, "And now, to be free from this curse, we need all 822 coins and the blood that breaks the spell. And now that you have that coin, your blood will be the key to our freedom." Hearing this, Elizabeth gets scared. She quickly stabs Barbassa with a knife and escapes. But as soon as she comes outside the ship, she is frozen in shock because there isn't a single person there. All around, only skeletons are visible, walking. Bones are clashing together, and their gleam in the moonlight spreads like a frightening light. Elizabeth's breathing becomes rapid, and then she hears a voice from behind. "See? Didn't I tell you? We're not dead." She turns around, and standing behind her is Captain Barbassa, who has now completely become a skeleton. He says, "I've been thirsty for many years, but I can't quench my thirst. I've been hungry for many years, but my hunger never ends. I've wanted to die for many years, but I can't die. I can't feel anything anymore. Now I just want to be free from this curse. To be free forever." Saying this, Barbassa also comes into the moonlight and becomes a skeleton like his companions. On the other side, Jack Sparrow and his companions are shown, moving from their ship towards the Black Pearl. During this, Jack's companion tells Will that Jack Sparrow Sparrow was once the captain of the Black Pearl, but his own companions betrayed him and left him to die on a desolate island. But Jack somehow escaped from there and now wants revenge on Barbossa, who is now the captain of the Black Pearl. Meanwhile, Barbossa reaches the cave where 881 gold coins are kept. He says, "We've returned all the coins we spent. Now we just need to return the last coin so we can be free from this curse." Then Jack Sparrow and will also arrive there. Barbossa cuts off Elizabeth's hand and drips her blood into the container with the coins. But nothing happens. The curse doesn't break. Barbossa realizes that Elizabeth is not Bootstrap Turner's daughter and, enraged, slaps her, causing her to fall. Here, a dispute starts between Barbossa and his companions. Then Will emerges from the water and cleverly escapes with Elizabeth and the coin. But one of Barbossa's companions catches Jack Sparrow. Barbossa comes to him and says, "I was the real captain of the Black Pearl. You're the one who betrayed me. You left me on that deserted island before we found the treasure, so you could save yourself from the curse. But I know whose blood you need. If you want to get that blood, I can take you to that person." Just then, Barbossa's companion comes and says that we've reached near the interceptor ship. That's where Elizabeth and the boy are, the one whose blood we need. Jack Sparrow says, "If you want to capture him without harm, follow my lead." To this, Barbossa replies, "Capture him." Now they all quickly move towards the interceptor, the ship with Elizabeth and Will on it. They now know that Barbossa needs Will's blood because Will's father was a pirate. Both try their best to save their ship from the Black Pearl, but despite all their efforts, they fail. Barbossa now captures everyone, and he realizes that Bootstrap Turner's son is actually Will Turner, who is now in their possession. After this, Barbossa first throws Elizabeth into the water. Then he looks at Jack Sparrow and says, "Maybe you forgot. This is the same island where I left you last time, but this time you won't escape." Saying this, Barbossa throws Jack Sparrow into the sea as well. Elizabeth and Jack are stranded again on the same deserted island where Jack had been stranded before. There is also Jack's old stash of rum, which Elizabeth burns the next day so smoke and fire can help a ship spot them. Soon, a ship comes towards them after seeing the flames. On board are James and Elizabeth's father. They rescue Jack Sparrow and Elizabeth from the island and bring them onto their ship. There, Elizabeth tells James, "We should chase the Black Pearl because Will is there." But James doesn't listen to Elizabeth and says we should take care of our own safety. But when Elizabeth says, "If you do that, I'll marry you," James immediately agrees. Now his large ship begins to chase the Black Pearl. Soon they reach the place where the Black Pearl is anchored. All the pirates are inside caves where the gold and silver treasures and those cursed coins are kept. Jack Sparrow makes a plan. He tells James, "I'll go into the cave and talk to Barbossa. You keep your soldiers ready. As soon as I give the signal, attack the pirates who come out of the cave." After this, Jack Sparrow quietly goes into the cave, where he sees that one of Barbossa's companions is about to cut Will Turner's throat to break their curse. Jack immediately stops him and says, "Even if you break free from this curse, you still won't escape. Outside, the dauntless ship is waiting for you. Once you're free from the curse and come out in ordinary clothes, James and his soldiers have decided to kill you. That's why the plan is simple. First, seize the Dauntless. One ship for you, one for us. Double the power. Make me the captain of the Black Pearl. I'll always work under you, and 10% of whatever I plunder, I'll give to you." Understand that Jack steals a coin from their treasure, and even if they remove the last coin, they'll never be free from that curse. Barbossa agrees with Jack's plan and sends all his pirates out. Their true form appears in the moonlight, skeletal remains. As night falls, they overpower the soldiers and seize control of the ship. In the cave, a fierce confrontation begins between Jack Sparrow and Barbossa. But Barbossa is no longer human. The battle becomes a blend of cracks, sparks, and the cries of the sea. Every step is danger. Every turn is betrayal. And now you either have to win or surrender to the dark shadow of the curse. Barbossa couldn't be killed. During the fight, he runs his sword straight through Jack Sparrow's body. But then Jack comes into the moonlight and his true form is revealed before everyone. He's also become a skeleton because he also stole a coin from that cursed treasure, meaning he's also cursed like them. Jack throws a blood-stained coin towards Will. Will catches it. Then Elizabeth arrives. Barbossa points his gun at Elizabeth again, but then the sound of a gunshot is heard. It's Jack Sparrow who fired it. That very bullet that Barbossa had once given to Jack when he left him on that deserted island, and Jack had sworn he would kill Barbossa with that same bullet. As Barbossa takes his last breath, he says, "You wasted that bullet, Jack." But Will says, "No, that's not true," and he puts both coins back in the treasure chest with blood. At that very moment, the curse breaks. Barbossa's heart stops beating, and he falls to the ground and dies. On the Dauntless ship, all the pirates are now human again, so they surrender. After this, the scene changes. Jack Sparrow is being hanged in Port Royal. Will can't bear it, and he goes before Elizabeth's father and James and says, "I never said it, but I love you very much." Saying this, he runs to the place where Jack is being hanged and saves him just in time. But then James' soldiers surround them from all sides. Elizabeth and her father also arrive, and in front of everyone, Elizabeth says, "I love you too, Will." Meanwhile, Jack sees his parrot flying nearby. He realizes his companions are close, so he jumps from the high wall of the fort straight into the sea, and then the Black Pearl ship appears in the waves. His own ship. His companions have come to get him. On the fort above, James forgives Will, and Elizabeth's father also agrees to their marriage. In the end, we see Jack Sparrow standing on the deck of the Black Pearl. The wind plays with his hair, and his companions make him Captain Jack Sparrow again, and from here begins a new tale of the sea. This story begins after the previous film, when it's the day of Will and Elizabeth's wedding. But then East India Company's chairman, Lord Cutler Beckett, arrives. He immediately arrests both Elizabeth and Will because they helped Jack Sparrow escape. He also has a warrant to arrest James Norrington because he didn't do his job properly. But James jumps into the sea before that and sets off to catch Jack Sparrow himself. Now Will and Elizabeth are to be executed for their crimes after James quits his job. But the next day, Cutler Beckett calls Will and makes a deal with him. He says that Jack Sparrow has a compass that doesn't point to a direction but to whatever a person's heart desires most. Bring me that compass, and in return, I'll pardon you and Elizabeth. Will says goodbye to Elizabeth and sets off to find Jack Sparrow. On the other side, Jack Sparrow appears on his ship, the Black Pearl. He has brought a piece of cloth from an unknown island with a picture of a key on it. Jack tells his companions, "This key will open a chest containing something very precious. We have to find that key." But his words clearly show that he's fooling his companions. Actually, Jack knows everything about that key and that mysterious chest. In the silence of the night, Jack pulls out his magical compass. But this time, it's not showing the right direction, as if signaling some great mystery. So Jack Sparrow goes below the ship, where he sees an old, frightening face. It's Bootstrap Turner, Will Turner's father, and surprisingly, he was still alive. 13 years ago, Bootstrap Turner worked under Jack Sparrow, when Jack was the captain of the Black Pearl. He tells Jack, "Our ship sank to the ocean depths many years ago. At that time, you made a deal with Davy Jones, the sea monster. If he brought your ship back to the surface, you would have the right to be captain of the Black Pearl for 13 years. But after that, you would have to give your soul to him and work as his slave on his ship. Now those 13 years are up." Bootstrap continues, "If you don't accept slavery to Davy Jones, he'll send Kraken, the most terrifying monster of the sea, after you, and it will drag you and your ship, the Black Pearl, to the depths of the sea." Bootstrap himself had made a deal with Davy Jones to save his own life. He grabs Jack's hand and makes a black mark on it. This meant that Davy Jones could always know his location, and the Kraken could attack him anytime. Saying this, Bootstrap disappears. Jack is now terrified. He tells his companions, "Take the ship in a different direction immediately." At that moment, Barbassa's mischievous monkey, which is still on the ship, steals Jack's hat and throws it into the sea. Later, that hat is found by other sailors. But as soon as one of the sailors puts it on, the Kraken emerges from the ocean depths and swallows their ship in the blink of an eye. On the other hand, in Port Royal, Elizabeth's father is secretly helping her escape, and eventually, Elizabeth escapes. She had only one goal, to reach Will so their sentences would be pardoned. Meanwhile, Will sees the Black Pearl ship on an island. Jack Sparrow is away from the sea at that moment because he's running from the Kraken. Will searches for that island, but then some indigenous people capture him. These indigenous people are cannibals who eat humans. They take Will to their tribe. When Will sees them, he's shocked because their king is none other than Jack Sparrow himself. Will tells Jack in surprise, "I need your compass. Elizabeth and I helped you escape, and now because of that, Elizabeth is going to be hanged. If you really want to save her, give me that compass." But Jack smiles cunningly and says something that doesn't make sense. Then he signals his men, and Will is imprisoned. He sees that Jack's other companions are already locked in wooden cages adorned with bones. The indigenous people say they made Jack Sparrow their king because they believe there's a sacred spirit inside him that needs to be released. But their way of releasing it means eating him. That is, they're preparing to sacrifice Jack. All the indigenous people together prepare for the ritual to kill Jack. Then an indigenous person arrives and says that the people in the cage, Jack's companions, are trying to escape. Hearing this, the entire tribe leaves to catch them. Jack takes advantage of this opportunity to escape and save his life. Making way through many difficulties and using cunning, Jack, Will, and the other companions somehow reach the Black Pearl ship and flee that cursed island. As soon as they board the ship, Jack tells Will, "Lord Cutler doesn't care about my compass. What What he actually wants is the treasure that this compass can show the direction to. But to reach that treasure, we first have to find its key, and for this, we need to meet Tia Dalma. A little later, everyone reaches Tia Dalma's house, a mysterious witch, the same woman who gave Jack his magical compass. Tia Dalma explains, this compass doesn't show a direction, but rather shows what a person's heart desires most. But Jack didn't have a genuine desire to find that key. That's why the compass wasn't showing him the way. Then Tia Dalma tells another big secret. The chest you're looking for is no ordinary chest. It contains Davy Jones' heart, and the key to that chest is only with Davy Jones. Tia Dalma gives Jack a small jar filled with dirt. She smiles and says, as long as you have this earth, Davy Jones can never step on land, and as long as he can't come on land, you're safe. She also tells the location of Davy Jones' ship, the Flying Dutchman. Jack and his crew set off in that direction. Upon arrival, Will sees a broken ship floating on the water surface. Will says, I'll go to that ship and find that key by any means. Jack smiles and says, if you get caught, just say Jack Sparrow sent you to repay his debt. Will moves towards that ship, but then the real ship emerges from the ocean depths. It was the Flying Dutchman. On that ship were strange sea creatures like people, half human, half sea demons. They catch Will and bring him before Davy Jones. Davy Jones wasn't human. His face was like an octopus, and his voice was heavy but human. Will gathers courage and says, Jack Sparrow sent me to repay his debt. Davy Jones pulls out a telescope and looks far. He sees Jack on the Black Pearl ship looking towards him as well. The very next moment, Davy Jones suddenly appears on the Black Pearl, meaning he had mysterious powers like teleportation.